Beginning 8 years ago, we made a shift in something we do at the end of each year. We took the lowest attended Sunday of the year, which is always the one between Christmas and New Year's. And that makes sense that it's low attendance. People are traveling. Almost everybody's come to a Christmas service. There's lots going on. But for years, it was our lowest Sunday. And we decided, let's do something that makes a theological statement and that also fixes this low-attended weekend. So we designed The Church Has Left the Building. And I love that phrase, guys, and I know y'all are big on it too, because the church is not the buildings, it's not the campus, it's not the facility. The church is the people. And we said, let's get out and get as many folks as we can to join us on that Sunday between Christmas and New Year's to watch Westside online, to introduce them to Westside in an easier setting. So literally the lowest attended, physically present weekend of the year has become the highest attended internet weekend. Nice! And Jason Morris, our internet pastor, is having an aneurysm. It's pretty cool stuff. So wherever you're joining us today, we are thrilled that you are here. You may be in a living room with family or friends, in-laws, outlaws, ex-laws, there's no telling. You may be driving down the road. If you are, please listen, don't watch. Wherever you're joining us today, it's our honor to talk to you for a few minutes about two things, really. The great story God has written this year at Westside, and the continuing story that we're excited about him writing in the year ahead. So I have my partners in crime, Brian, the crazy one, Phipps, on this side, and Rob, the missional man, Wegner, on this side. And we're just going to talk for a few minutes about the God thing that's going on. Guys, it really has been an amazing year at Westside.
Without a doubt. And you know, this service in particular is symbolic, because the most primal expression of the church in the book of Acts was the church that met in the homes. Yeah. You know, there were the public gatherings, but when the persecution hit Jerusalem, the public gatherings shut down. But the church didn't stop. It spread from household to household to household, and that's the vibe of this gathering today.
And that's what happened for 300 years.
That's right.
Rob met in homes. And we meet in homes and in big gatherings, even to this day. Brian, talk about the great year we've had. Go with it.
Well, I just want to add to what Rob said. I think it's also symbolic that the 1 year for Westside actually adds on to its current building is the year that the body is realizing more and more it's not about the building. That's pretty crazy for a church to both increase the building and realize that this is a tool, but it's not the answer. So I really love that parallel as well. So what did you ask me to talk about?
How good of you.
It's been a great year at Westside. Actually, there are several things to talk about. One of my favorite here is 661 baptisms just this year.
Wow.
Is that cool?
Yeah.
You've got friends, you've got family who've been a part of this, and there's been guys that I've been serving who've been a part of that too, and there's nothing like it.
The fun part for me is a guy I led to Christ 5 years ago and got baptized then, actually helped baptize somebody he led to Christ this year. And I'm going, yeah. I mean, that's just a cool moment because it says clearly they've surrendered their lives to Christ.
Yeah,
And that's what we like about that. What else this year, dude?
Secondly, we have a story of new churches that is emerging, especially internationally. We're to a place now where in Thailand and Laos there's 130 churches, most of which are actually house churches because they're in Laos, which is a communist country. And there they are oppressed. There's a decree, it's called Decree 92. They cannot have permission to gather without getting permission from a communist government, which isn't going to happen. But one of the guys that actually J-Mo and I met recently on our last trip there where we were training, this guy's been to jail, get this, 4 different times. And the last time...
For being a pastor.
For being a pastor.
Not for doing drugs.
That's right. That's right. That makes a big difference. And the last time they actually tortured him. And if you look at that movement of 130 house churches, 60 of them trace their origin back to this one man. And one of those churches, they've swept up all the street orphans. And they care for all those kids now in their homes. And because of that, the local magistrate has given them permission to meet publicly in a communist country. That's a God thing. That's just one story behind 130 of these churches.
And that's just like God to give favor because they're caring for orphans, to allow them to meet. And the cool thing is, we care for 1,000 orphans around the world now that are in facilities that Westside supports. But that movement is caring for probably another 1,000 that's literally kids they've taken off the streets into their own homes. So it's been about baptisms, it's been about church expansion. It really has just been about changed lives altogether. Thousands of changed lives. That's a cool thing. Our 11 locations and church plants in Kansas City are about 6,000 strong now. Our international presence is even bigger than that. I think it's really cool that more Westsiders speak Southeast Asia languages than speak English. So it's been a year of God's favor. And I think it's totally appropriate just to give him a hand. So join us even. Brian, I think one of the best parts is that the story is not done. God is still writing his story, and he's still allowing us to be part of that. We're characters in the story.
Yeah, and it's a long, long story. It didn't start just about 10 years ago.
No.
You know, it started long, long time ago, way back in the beginning of the book. God started to have a relationship with his people, you know, and things have gone well in those relationships. Things have gone bad in those relationships. But he, from the beginning of the book all the way till the end of the book that we know as the Bible, has been chasing his people. And it says right there, when Jesus came after his death and resurrection, he sent us his Spirit so that he could continue to live in, through, and beyond us to keep the story of redemption going. Basically, you could take the whole Bible and break it down into two major acts. Act 1, we messed up. Act 2, he came to fix it. And the cool part about it is he's engaged us into that process. He hasn't said, sit and watch this. He said, get in the game and make it happen. And I love that part of the story.
So to capitalize on this story that God's been writing for thousands of years, since the beginning of man, we decided to do something fun this year that thousands of churches nationwide are doing or have done. It's a movement around this idea of the story. And Rob, I think you've been more fired up than any of us, but you're always more fired up. Talk about that a little bit. What are we going to do in 2016?
Well, we're going to go on a journey, and we're going to start at the very beginning of the story. Go back through the primordial mist to the origin of time.
He even sounds really smart. Primordial mist.
Yes. When God said, let there be light, and there was what?
Light.
And it began with creation. And everything was in harmony. There was harmony in the souls of men and women, and there was harmony in their relationships, and there was harmony between them and creation, and them and God. And then we exalted ourselves. And we chose to put self above God. God said, I will always tell you what is good and right and wise. And we said, no, I know better. And it shattered shalom. It shattered harmony. Not just in us, but in our relationships and in creation. And that's when the pursuit started. God reached out to a man named Abraham. And he said, I'm going to heal what's broken. I'm going to take what's shattered and put it back together again. I'm going to redeem, restore, and out of Abraham came a nation, Israel, and guess what? Israel's a lot like us. They just didn't have a clue. Couldn't keep the covenant, couldn't keep their part of the deal. And the prophet said, there's someone else who's coming. There's a Messiah who's coming. And the prophets also talked about this future that we're headed towards. A beautiful and complete restoration where everything will be made well, where everything will be as it should be. Every nook and corner of creation, the entire cosmos will be what God intended it to be, but we needed this Messiah to come. And then God came in Christ. He put on flesh and blood. And Jesus did what Israel could never do.